we as human beings are inherently selfish beings. We we want for ourselves, me. Each one of us are pulled towards, are attracted towards where we get benefit. Loneliness is the pain of being alone, and solitude is the joy of being alone. There's an emptiness within ourselves. We hope that something outside of us will fill that emptiness, will complete us. Now, you think of it, two empty vessels, when they come together, they just make more noise. It's double the emptiness. Because people out there are pretty suspicious, you see, and it's not their fault either. They have gone through multiple, negative relationships. And to be able to trust you when you are giving.
I was reading about this interesting story where the participants were given a choice that they can sit alone by themselves in a room doing nothing, or they can shock themselves out of it. And 30% of the women chose to get a shock and get out of the situation where they are all by themselves, and 60% of the men chose to give themselves a shock to get out. So loneliness is real and people fear from loneliness.
I know loneliness is a big problem in today's world. On one hand, we have ample abilities or infinite abilities to connect with people. We are not really in isolation at this time, especially with the social media, especially with all the technologies that we have. Gone are those days when people used to live miles and miles away from each other. Now we live, in such a closely knit community, and yet we're feeling lonely. And my heart goes out to those who are feeling lonely. I want to take this quick moment to empathize with all those people who are feeling lonely today. And I feel for them, because there was a time many years back, I would say a couple of decades back, when I also used to feel very lonely. And even from modern scientific research point of view, they're finding how detrimental loneliness can be to the health of the people. There's a research that talks about that people who have chronic loneliness, years and years of loneliness, it is almost as bad as smoking many cigarettes a day. There is then depression, anxiety, and even other medical illnesses can happen from that. So I totally agree. It's a real problem, and my hope is that our conversation today will give people insights, will give people the light, the guidance to be able to combat their loneliness.
There is a term in investing where they say all man's misery stem from the fact that he cannot sit alone all by himself in a room doing nothing. So we are constantly looking to do something. So is it because we are not happy with ourselves, or we are not serving and treating others the right way, and that's why we are lonely?
So see, loneliness is really the pain of being alone. You see, now not everyone who is alone feels lonely. So, in fact, in all the ancient spiritual traditions and paths, there was, being alone was being emphasized, and is still being emphasized actually. And the word that is used in these spiritual paths is solitude. So I would say solitude is the joy of being alone. See, loneliness is the pain of being alone, and solitude is the joy of being alone. So, somewhere I think people have to learn, we all have to learn to shift our pain of loneliness to the joy of happiness. That art has to be learned and mastered, so that we begin to actually befriend ourselves, and through that we begin to enjoy our own company. If you are happy internally, you're contented with yourself. And actually, I love that, if you break this word contentment, the first few letters is content. So, when you look at a book, there are contents, right? There's table of contents. So, if you have enough content, if you have enough in you, then you will feel contented with yourself. And from that state of contentment, when you connect with everyone around you, then you will automatically have a better experience to all these relationships. Also, we have to examine our social connections, you know, that we have. Somewhere we are not able to maintain adequate, healing, nurturing relationships with people around us. Regarding this, we can continue to blame others, that people around us are like this, and my employees are like this, my employers are like this, my spouse is like this, my in-laws are like this. We can keep blaming people around us, but somewhere we have to sort of work on ourselves too, kind of reflect on what can we do better to be able to enjoy better social connections. So coming back to the first aspect about learning the art to befriend yourself. You see, only when we spend time with something or someone do we come to understand that person or that thing. Let's say you want to learn how to use your cell phone most effectively, then you spend many hours trying to understand that. We don't want to sometimes take out time to spend with ourselves. Sometimes just merely being alone, that isolation can be a pain, a punishment itself. But if we are able to go beyond that initial phase, then, and when we spend time with ourselves, trying to understand the dynamics of how our mind works, how we work, what we like, what we don't like, what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, what are opportunities, what are our threats, then we can actually be able to use all of these wonderful talents, skills that we have, and at the same time, we are able to work through our weaknesses. You see, we are able to clear away all our shortcomings, and then we are able to rise to our highest potential. Then we are able to experience the true joy of life, because we are able to achieve so much more. You see, we are able to experience the true joy of life when we begin to understand ourselves and use all that we have, use all that has been endowed upon us, that has been bestowed upon us by the universe, by God, however you want to look at it, in the most effective way. See, in all these spiritual traditions that you know of, when you look at the life of, say, Jesus Christ, or Muhammad, or Mahavir, Buddha, they all went into solitude for years and years and years. And of course, it's not easy. Then all the demons from inside come out. But once you are able to work through those demons, then the universe becomes yours. The whole world looks up to these people who have spent years and years in solitude. They have come back to humanity with the most enlightening, information. They have been enlightened themselves, and then they have provided us with all the information that has helped us through the years. Not only, from the spiritual point of view, but even look at the scientists, you know, like the example of Albert Einstein or Isaac Newton. You see how Albert Einstein, he was a, do you know, he was a patent clerk. He had an ordinary job in one of the patent offices, and he would yearn for the day to be over at work so that he could quickly go back home, go to his desk, and in that solitude, he would sit and solve these mathematical problems, and he became one of the most well known scientists. I think everybody on this planet knows who Albert Einstein is. Now, he didn't go to parties every day, every evening, every weekend, He did not try to socialize the way traditionally now we yearn to do, and that's how he was able to rise to his highest potential. In fact, Isaac Newton was another person who went into solitude for a couple of years, and that's how he was able to write these two masterpieces, these two volumes of physics, which touch upon pretty much every subject in within physics itself. Now, this is from science point of view, but look at all these artists. Look at Leonardo da Vinci, who created Mona Lisa. He didn't create it in a club. He didn't create it in a dormitory. He went to his small space that he had, and in that isolation, he created one of the most beautiful paintings, a masterpiece. Look at Michelangelo. He created that David, that beautiful sculpture from a single stone. How did he do it? Total isolation. It was just him and no one else. 2 years. That masterpiece was created. He, in fact, then went on to paint the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel in Italy. And this is a masterpiece in itself. Those beautiful paintings on the ceiling. How he did it single handedly. No help from anyone. He painted those. So you see, if you want to do anything meaningful in life, if you want to enjoy, and to give to the world all the wonderful talents that each one actually is endowed with, and I know some people will say, I don't want to become Jesus Christ, or I don't want to achieve these big things. I don't want to become Mahavir. I don't want to be the next Buddha. I don't want to be the next Albert Einstein or Isaac Newton or Nicholas Tesla. I don't want to be the next Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo, which is okay. But you see, each one of us has so much of potential, and all of that potential is going into waste just because we refuse to enjoy the solitude, enjoy our own company, enjoy being with ourselves. And of course, like I was saying earlier, there is going to be a short phase that is going to be a little painful, where when we are spending time with ourselves, there'll be an urge to get out of that, time with ourselves and try to connect outside. Just like, I'll give you another example. Let's say you have just bought a house and the house is pretty dirty. Now, when you go inside, you spend time inside the house to clean it up. You will go into each room, each closet. There could be cobwebs there. There could be dead animals, right? Some pests. So one by one, you start cleaning each closet, each room, and then the house becomes livable. So you see, there is this initial phase that is painful, but then that whole exercise of cleaning the house becomes a rewarding experience. So similarly, initially, when you try to spend time with yourself, yes, these demons will come out, and bother you. But if you are able to go past that, then it's an extremely rewarding experience.
So we have received this question from someone saying that they don't get along good with their spouse. They have issues in the office where they cannot get along. They're facing loneliness. How should they fight loneliness?
How can I actually enjoy my social connections? Now, we can keep blaming others for our misfortune. My spouse is like this, that's why I'm not happy. My in-laws are like this, that's why I'm not happy. And I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with people around, but we are not perfect either. Now, think of it. This is something which I truly understood deeply, and this has changed my life. That if I want a friend, I have to be a friend for others. I have to become friendly to others. If I'm grumpy all the time, who will want to become my friend? Or if I'm constantly having expectations from people, if I'm constantly demanding, let's say if you have two friends, two social connections, one is constantly demanding, and the other one is constantly giving. It's no brainer that you will gravitate towards the one who's giving rather than one who's demanding. There's an emptiness within ourselves, you see, that we hope that something outside of us will fill that emptiness, will complete us. You see, so let's say if I am empty, and I want a companion, hoping that that companion will complete my emptiness, will fill my emptiness. But the problem is the other person is also empty. Now, you think of it, two empty vessels, when they come together, it's never a full vessel. It's they just make more noise. It's double the emptiness. So if we ourselves are very demanding, then how will people want to be with us? If I want love, that I have to become love. I have to give love to others. The more I serve others, the more the universe will come together to serve me. I'll have much better social connections automatically. Again, it may not happen overnight, because people out there are pretty suspicious, you see, and it's not their fault either. They have gone through multiple, negative relationships. And to be able to trust you when you are giving, sometimes people will be like, why is this person being nice to me? Why is this person being kind to me? So they become suspicious, which is okay. But with time, they will understand that you don't have any bad intention other than to love them, respect them, have compassion for them, all the good things. Then they will come back to you and you will enjoy good social connections.